Good morning, everyone. Well, I guess it's afternoon now. It all kind of blends together when you're sitting in a chaotic, apocalyptic, night like, ash covered city. And I wanted to talk about 2020, I wanted to talk about the fires, and I wanted to talk about COVID a little bit. And I guess I wanted to tie all these things together because they're all slightly controversial, and there are certain things that I have to say about what's going on. I wanted to title this video 2020 Sucks and I Was Wrong, or Why I Was Wrong. And the reason why, in the context of that, is that after all the negativity I've seen out there, all the hatred towards one another, maybe I was wrong that people come together during times of crisis. But I thought about it a little further and realized no, I wasn't wrong, because there are many people coming together right now. To explain where I'm coming from here, a lot of people have thrown and spewed hatred towards the West Coast for a long time. Ever since Donald Trump took office, it became just the thing to do. Oh, those liberal cities, those liberal states. And now these fires are being blamed on Antifa, any other variety of groups. The whole thing is, these fires are very serious. And blaming any individual group is ridiculous. I've lived here my whole life. We've always had wildfires. This has been an extremely dry season. And combined with the winds that we had because of that crazy Arctic front that moved through Denver, I mean, it was 95 degrees one day, and it was like freezing in blizzard conditions the next day. It was insane weather, and that pushed all the coastal air out, and that just fanned those flames right over the West Hill, or over the Cascade Mountains. Now, to give you a context, because I know most people don't pay attention to details like, how other people are doing. We have evacuated over 500,000 people on level 3 evacuations in just the state of Oregon. And I live on the Oregon-Washington border. Both states have serious issues, just like California does. The whole West Coast is a giant smoke blanket blowing out towards the ocean for the last week. And now the winds have shifted and they're moving east. So we have a westerly wind that's blowing all that smoke back in the valley. The conditions right now in Portland, we have the qualifications of having the worst air quality in the entire world. And I'm not kidding. You can look it up. The Beijing sits at like 160, and we're at like 333 last time I checked. It's absolutely disgusting out there. Going out and even breathing for a few minutes can make you sick. It's a horrible time to be in Portland or in anywhere in Oregon. That's just the thing. So anyway, we've evacuated over 500,000 people and set up many places in Portland. There's just gridlock down there everywhere, trying to get people to safe places to stay. For context, I did the math on this, down to the specifics, and I looked it up on multiple sources to make sure. Did the math, and I found out that, yes, indeed, there's 4.2 million people. We've evacuated over 500,000. And last time I checked, this means that we have evacuated 11.85% of the entire state of Oregon. That's almost 12%. That is 1 in 8 people who had to leave their homes for fear of it burning down. And when people are spreading rumors that it's this group or Antifa, it's just not doing anything. But there's no empathy. I just need to get this out there. For the president tweeting his complaints about fires in the streets of Portland on one square block for the last 3 months, he hasn't said a single word about the fact that the whole state is burning down. And there are all these conspiracies out there that just do nothing to help the people. But the fact is, we help each other out here. On the West Coast, we do what we can to help each other. And, there are over 1 million acres. Well, I think it was like 800 something last time I checked. There will be well over 1 million acres burned in this. And for context, we might have a mega fire or two each year during fire season. A mega fire consists of 100,000 acres or more. So far, we've burned almost 1 million acres, and fire season just started, and it lasts 3 months. And, I'm not, for context, I'm not denying that there are people starting fires. There are plenty of pyros out there. And with that windstorm, I'm sure there were people just itching. There are people who just are just destruction, revolutionaries that think that they're changing the world by burning something down. They're disgusting people. Anybody who lights fires on purpose, pyros are just disgusting people. One last aspect on this fire thing is that, one of the reasons we can't fight some of these is because we can't see the fire, because it's so smoky. But another reason is because we're only using Black Hawk helicopters and a couple other planes or something to fight these fires. The reason being is because as a show, we took all 6 of the Chinook helicopters. These are the C something, I can't remember the name of these ones, but these are the helicopters that can carry a shitload of water or fire retardant or whatever you need. They took all 6 of them in May, right before fire season started, and they shipped them all to Afghanistan to move around soldiers and supplies. And I'm not saying that as a political thing to say, ha ha, it's Trump's fault. Not at all. I'm saying it's a horrible decision on the military's part, on the state's part, on anybody who was involved in sending those firefighting, with the firefighting ability they have. It's just absurd that they would send them overseas right before fire season. But as I said, there seems to be no empathy for, people who suffer. Whenever there's a hurricane in the South, there's part of me that says, well, you live in the South. That's what happens. But I also feel really bad for the people that lose their homes. Now, when people say things like, well, the West Coast needs to manage their forests better, it just makes me want to say, well, Florida needs to manage their beaches better. You need to stop eliminating wetlands to build houses. We know that humans do what humans do. And where we're at right now, we're just starting to realize the impact and implications of the things that we've built and the things that we've done and removed, which were natural barriers against this kind of thing. But there's also climate change. Regardless of whether it's man-made or not, climate is always changing. So 2020 sucks. We started out with politics and division, hatred already and animosity. Then we got into protests, which eventually turned into riots, which eclipsed the protests. Then we ended up with hurricanes, okay? And to top it all off, we have fires, and it's an election year. Looks like my plug's unplugging. There we go. And it's an election year. And on top of the election year, instead of dropping leaflets like they do in, say, Korea, we're dropping propaganda leaflets through the internet. Whether it be a Russian troll agency, a Chinese troll agency, or American trolls, or just people who really believe what they're saying, people are spreading all kinds of bullshit and false rumors. On top of all this shit that's going on, we have fucking COVID-19. And it's like, there are still people who are saying it's nothing. Still people who say, oh, it's just a conspiracy, Democratic ploy. All of that might have worked before, but not anymore, and I think we can all agree on that. For those who said it's just a flu, a flu season on average might kill 30,000 Americans through the whole year. Since we've already lost 200,000, we can say it's at least 6 times worse than the flu. But that's only in 6 months, where it started out small. If we weren't wearing masks, you have no idea how many people would probably be dead right now. So, congratulations to all the mask deniers or the people who are still saying it's just the flu or it's no big deal. Especially all the ones that quoted President Trump. Especially since the recording was released the other day of him in his own words saying, this is serious stuff. This is deadly. This is a lot worse than the flu. And I don't know if there's anybody out there, I'm sure there are plenty of people who will still try to deny that or say, oh, well, he didn't mean what he said. But that was the president's own words, and I believe May. So about 3 or 4 months ago, the president was saying he knew that it was really bad. And when he was questioned about it, did he deny it? No. He came right out and said, well, I didn't want to panic the people. And I wanted to say, if you're a true American, if you're a real patriot, you know the government has been lying to you forever. And if you're going to allow that guy to lie to you too, and say it's for your own good, you got to admit that is babying the American public to not tell us the truth. And your own president, the one that you supported, has lied to you and admitted he lied to you because he didn't want to panic you. And that should make you wary. That should make you cautious. But more than being political, it should also make you be aware that this thing can kill people. It's not just the COVID disease itself. There are long-term neurological effects that many people have reported. Long feelings of depression for months afterwards. We still don't know. I'd just like to make a few things known. Whether you're liberal or conservative, we're both losing jobs and we're both pissed off about it. Both of us want things open back up. Both of us want to get back to our lives. But the idea that opening schools is going to fix that has already been proven wrong. In Washington State here, we're doing homeschooling. It's working fine. It's a little difficult. My kids are in there right now on class, and in about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I got to go back in there and I've got to help assist them with the rest of their stuff. It's not just a teacher thing, but the funny thing is all the conservatives were always complaining about how schools were warping kids' minds. Now's your opportunity to not complain and to just do it, to help assist your kids yourself. But no, they're still complaining because they want schools back open because the president wanted schools back open. And the sad fact is that now we realize that he was lying all along. But the reason we can come together on some of these things is because we've all lost jobs. We've all had businesses closed and businesses being slow. None of us like wearing a mask. It sucks. So, the sad fact is that only 1% or so, from what I've researched, have been infected. I would say maybe you could 5 times that, even 5% have been infected. From what I've read, about 1% of Americans have actually been infected by the coronavirus. And if that's the case, we have a long road ahead of us. And we really have to work together. And we can't fight about who's in the streets or who's right or who's wrong or who's protesting. We've just got to figure this shit out because we're adults. And that's what adults do. It's not about making an enemy out of half the people. It's just absolutely preposterous. I had a whole video planned talking about this whole division thing and how the left is always made out to be these, these demons now, demoncrats and demon-Nazis as instead of Democrats. I mean, is this really the world that we're living in? Is this the kind of world we want to live in? Is what I'm asking. I'm not a Democrat, by the way. I'm an independent that sometimes is forced to vote Democrat because I'm so appalled by the system on the right. But the left is just as disgusting now. So I'm not. A lot of folks have this idea that I support the left or support Antifa. It's ridiculous, but they just don't understand the deeper context that I want change too. I've seen police abuse. I've seen abuse from the left and the right. But on a final note about COVID here, I think this one's important. I know a lot of people that are, say, leaning to the right tend to be anti-vaxxers. And there are also a lot on the extreme left who are anti-vaxxers. It's not just one or the other. My question is, when Donald Trump starts pushing a vaccine next month and saying, it's going to help you, are you going to take it? I think one of the most beautiful things that I've heard is that over half of the people, or I think it was up to half the people in America, say that they will not take a vaccine if it comes out before Election Day. And many people are trying to say, oh, this is all just propaganda for election, and he's trying to release it early for election. I can't prove that, but I absolutely believe that to be true because it's just common sense. A vaccine that hasn't gone through phase 3 trials has not met the standards of criteria for it to be released. Therefore, it is pushing something through too quickly. And it's interesting that Trump wants to push through a vaccine quickly when he is publicly saying that COVID is not a big deal. There are many paradoxes here that people are not acknowledging, and therefore I'm starting to lose faith in the ability to have one-on-one discussions with people to really rationalize that Trump doesn't care about you, but neither does the right or the left. I mean, it doesn't matter which side you're on. They're both out for their own goods and their own ends. It's all about lobbying. It's all about money. When are the people going to stand together and stop being a bunch of fucking idiots? You know, I just don't understand why people can't see through this bullshit. That Antifa are not running through the woods starting fires, nor are the right-wingers the enemy of the people, or the left wing the enemy of the people. We are fucking people that stand together, you know? When my kid was doing his classwork the other day, he's a second grader, he had like a few songs for music class to do at home on his home thing. And My Country 'Tis of Thee came on. And he'd never heard it before. He's young. And so we started singing. He'd heard it, but he didn't know the words. And so we started singing along with him. And when I was done, I was in tears. And I turned to my wife and I was like, man, that choked me up. And she goes, me too. And I thought, here we are. These, America-hating liberals crying about My Country 'Tis of Thee, because it means so much to us to live in this country and to be Americans, because we know what being an American is. It doesn't matter what you choose to do in your spare time. It matters that you stand up for freedoms and equality and rights and what is right. And I feel like people have really lost touch with that. Really lost touch with that. So, on top of that, it's 9/11 today. So, you can't really say happy 9/11. All you can say is, it's just another thing to be sad about, but also to feel stronger about as Americans. Because at that time in my life, I saw people come together. I mean, I was like 24, 25, and I remember people all around were like coming together and standing up and being Americans and hanging American flags on their pickups. Not George Bush flags. It's not about the president. It was about the people. So, here we are, enduring the fires while the federal government twiddles their thumbs and completely doesn't give a shit because we're liberal states. Well, all I can say is I'm all good for Cascadia. I say, separate. Fuck the federal government. I'm more than willing to separate the West Coast. They wouldn't be able to handle it without California's economy. For all the complaints about California, Oregon, Washington, as these liberal cities and states, there are a lot of conservatives out here too. The thing is, we've learned to get along because we're adults. Take care of each other, my friends. Maybe the smokes made me a little grumpy, but that's not the case. I actually feel pretty good. I just needed to get some points across because it's pretty preposterous what's going on. For the most part, I stand aside from it, watch it happen, acknowledge what's happening, and just say, wow, this is interesting, watching the decline of society willingly, not by force. Peace out.